This is Scott from Scott Shop Media. Back up real quick. See, it's me. I am live on scene. I'm going to get in front of the camera so you can hear me a little better with the boom mic. Scott Shop Media. This is what's happening on the mountain. Although this is more of the bottom of the mountain, reporting to you live from State Route 330, just above Highland. I'm about a mile north of the 210, small brush fire broke out just east of here along Highland. Highland is shut down. 330 is open, just so you know, in case you're asking. 330 is open. Hopefully you got that shot of that tanker coming in. Right now, it's estimated to be about 25 acres. Of course, it's might have grown just a little bit. It is a combined effort, a unified command between County Fire, Cal Fire, and Forest Service. It is burning. Close to the forest, if not partially into the forest. No threat to the mountains right now. And I'm going to just let you guys see when the fire first broke out around 5 o'clock for about an hour and 15 minutes ago. It looked like it had the potential to run up the mountain, and it had the potential to run east of here. That's another good shot of a tanker. This is mostly an air show right now. Trying to stop the forward rate of threat spread. That is a great shot. I hope you guys got that. Sun's to my back. So I can't really see my screen, but hopefully you... Okay.
That's the truth.
What is the guy? What's the guy look like?
Hispanic. He's down there. I just went down there. My lady just went down there. He just killed our 4 dogs.
Really?
Yeah, that's the truth.
And why is your lady still down there then if he's got a machete?
The other side, she knows somebody down there that's got a camp down there.
Okay.
And he's held up in a camp a little ways up the stream.
And what's he wearing?
Dark shorts or like blue shorts.
Okay.
Past the knee, no shirt.
Okay.
The authorities got his description.
Okay. You've already talked to somebody?
No, well, they've already been made aware of his description.
Okay. All right. So just getting. Oh, that's another great shot. I hope you guys can see it. It's just getting an update from a local person who says he knows who started this fire, and so we'll try to get a hold of law enforcement. Reason why I was delayed on getting live to you guys was I was talking to the law enforcement officer when I first set up. So this guy's kind of confirming the same story that the law enforcement officer from the Forest Service was asking. This witness is saying that he saw the guy start the fire after he killed his 4 dogs with the machete, and that this guy's held up somewhere down here in the City Creek drainage. So as soon as Forest Service or other law enforcement officer returns to the scene, I will update them with that information. I hope you guys can see from my vantage point. Unfortunately, I am on the highway in order to get a best view of the aerial assault and some of the active flames. When the fire was first reported about 5 o'clock, like I said, it was running up a hill. They immediately requested a second alarm vegetation response. So from all 3 agencies, that's from Forest Service, County Fire, and Cal Fire. But it looks like since the time it took me to get here, all the way from Lake Arrowhead, till I was able to get it set up and start broadcasting, they've actually did a great job of getting this fire cooled down a bit. It is a little breezy down here. It's a little warm. Another great shot. So let me just explain to you that that's called a helitanker. That's a Sikorsky Sky Crane. Fire department has a different name for them, but that is a That's helitanker. One of the helitankers was requested out of Lancaster. The two other helitankers, there's another one right there, are one's out of San Bernardino, and not quite sure where the third one came from. They're actually having some trouble fulfilling some of the tanker requests just because of the amount of fires that are burning up north. So this one had 3 helitankers, which are a much larger helicopter, several regular helicopters from the various different agencies, Forest Service, County Fire, and CAL FIRE, and then some fixed-wing aircraft as well from both San Bernardino and most likely Hemet. So I saw at least 4 fixed-wing tankers and possibly up to 6 or 7 rotary wings, including 3 helitankers and 3 or 4 of the smaller Huey type from the Sheriff's Department. The Sheriff's Department, they add a Bambi bucket to their underneath their helicopter, and just like any other firefighting aircraft, that might actually be one of the 40 King units, one of the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department units there with the flashing lights, about ready to drop water out of its Bambi bucket. There you go, nice drop. And so it looks like from our vantage point, at least, we can't see what's going on in other parts of this fire. I think what I got you focused on right there is probably where they're most concerned, and that's certainly ahead of the fire. So both terrain driven and wind driven, that would be the direction the fire is burning, assuming that the fire started further south along Highland Avenue. Let me pan a little bit to the right just so you can get a reference point. I apologize. I know where I'm at. So again, the sun's going down, so this is a really bright light. But that I'm on the 330. That's the Highland Avenue off ramp. So if we pan left or to the east from there, that's where you'll see a lot of the equipment. That's the water district building down there at the bottom of the City Creek drainage, and then you can see there's 2 water tenders for the Forest Service, and it looks like either a CAL FIRE or probably a CAL FIRE, maybe a San Bernardino City Type 3 engine up there on the little hillside, and they're going to try to pump water up to hand crews that are making their way up the side of this mountain. And there's another helitanker there, and so what we have right here is maybe, I don't know, 500 feet, 1,000 feet up the hillside. Fortunately, there is old burn scars. You can see the brownish vegetation in the background that goes up to the top there. That's old burn, and so with the old burn, there's not as much heavy fuels, at least, for it to burn. There's certainly seasonal grass that's grown back and forth, or is grown and burned down again. But there's not a lot of bushes up there in the old burn. So what we see primarily burning is stuff that hasn't burned in at least a little while. But even in the last month or so, there's been 2 different fires in this general area that in some ways actually helps. Most of the smoke that I can see from my vantage point, again, I'm on the other side of the drainage, on the eastern, looking at the western flank of the fire. I can't see what's going on further east because there's a knoll, a little hilltop between me and it. But I can tell you that a lot of the aerial resources are being concentrated kind of right here in front of us. So I imagine this is the hottest part of the fire. So we've seen most of the smoke that is being produced. The fire was completely visible from the rim as I drove across from Lake Arrowhead a little while ago. But since I got here, it is completely settled down compared to what it originally was. I first saw this when the fire was first being dispatched around 4:45, I believe. Yes, I'm sorry. We are in the City Creek drainage bed. Trying to get some updates here on acreage. Of course, there is a nice little water drop. There is no official cause, but right when I got here, a law enforcement officer, or LEO, was asking if we'd seen a particular suspect, a particular person with a description. That law enforcement officer left. As soon as that person left, what appeared to be a transient that lives in this drainage came up to me and said, I'm going to tell you first. Breaking news! The gentleman, matching the description of what the law enforcement officer gave, is actually held up in that drainage with a machete, stating that the person who started this fire actually had killed his 4 dogs as well. So take it for what it's worth. There's another heli tanker there making a drop. So I can actually see between me and the burn on this ridge line, I can actually see some yellow hard hats and brush gear. So that's the hand crews making their way in. So as with any wildfire, crews are going to be working to contain the fire. It takes a collaboration of multiple resources. You have the aerial assets, the heli tankers, as well as the smaller helicopters and the air tankers. I haven't seen any of the large air tankers. They may be committed, or if there isn't a large structure threat, they may not have even asked for any of the large, the VLATs, the very large air tankers out of San Bernardino. Haven't seen any if they have. Just mostly the rotary wings. I haven't seen any of the tankers, although I have seen a lead plane flying around. And the lead plane is looks like the suspect might be getting pretty close to me here real quick. So if you guys just want to hang on a quick second as I call for the sheriff real quick like. Hi, I'm a freelance reporter. I'm live here on the Easton Fire on Highway 330. Forest Service law enforcement officer was here earlier asking if I'd seen a potential arson suspect.
Okay, let me transfer to the fire department.
Awesome sauce. I don't know if you guys can see that, but the hand crews are starting to show up. I think that's their fact number. Oh my! Oh, that's what it sounds like. Sounds like it's not alarm for. Oh, there we go. I live on Highway 330, just above Highland. I'm on the Easton Fire. The Forest Service. No. I'll tell you what's going on. The arson investigator for the Forest Service was here earlier looking for a suspect. That suspect has returned. So I don't know how to get hold of the Forest Service. To return to 330 just north of Highland, I can point out the person he was looking for about 15 minutes ago. He's actually walking on the frontage road where the water tunnel is on the west side of 330. He's walking on a cul-de-sac next to Shadow Ridge trailer park. I'm trying to be coy. Sure. All right, sorry about that. I was talking to the sheriff's department and transferred me to the fire department because the person matching the description was actually walking along the side of the highway. Forest Service. Let me start over from the beginning. Around about an hour and 45 minutes ago, I believe it was around 4:45. Calls went out for vegetation fire on State Route 330 at Highland. First units here saw about a 1 or 2 acre fire on the side of the hillside, burning uphill, wind-driven, rapid rate of spread. And so the call went out for a second alarm. The fire was actually burning more in a north easterly direction, up above the houses of East Highland, east of the 330. Currently, it's no threat to the mountain communities. It looks like there was a huge banner or billowing smoke as I drove across the rim from Lake Arrowhead to get here. I got here a little over an hour to get here and to get set up. As soon as I did get here, and in the process of getting set up, a law enforcement officer from the Forest Service asked if I had seen a potential arson suspect. I had not, but he described them. Once that law enforcement officer left, a transient, appeared to be a transient, approached me and said, "Hey, there's a homeless guy down there that started the fire. He killed my 4 dogs with a machete. He's held up down there." And then more recently, just a few minutes ago, somebody else who's been kind of hanging out watching the fire approaches me and says, "Hey, there's the suspect, and he's actually behind us on the other side of the highway, on the other side of the fence line, walking down towards Walmart." So I felt like it was important to notify the Sheriff's Department and Forest Service of what this information is. So back to the fire. I believe we're at 25, maybe 50 acres. I'll get an update right now if you'll entertain me as I talk a little slower, maybe do a little pausing. But what I'm hopefully showing you, if it's not completely washed out, is an aerial show. You can see a bunch of different aircraft lined up. In fact, I see both the Air Attack and a lead plane just showed up, which in fact that's a lead plane and a tanker. So we're probably going to get another fixed wing drop. But what you see right now is 2 heavier Sikorsky sky cranes that have been converted into tankers. So these are larger air tankers. There's 3 of them assigned to the fire. One of them as far away as Lancaster. Actually, I heard one was coming all the way up from Porterville. They're having a little bit of a trouble filling some aircraft orders. But as soon as the first resources got on scene, they activated a second alarm, which brought more than twice the amount of equipment on scene that was already dispatched, which the initial dispatch had at least 25 fire engines, several water tenders, several hand crews, several bulldozers, and a whole arsenal of aerial assets, including 7 helicopters and 4 fixed-wing tankers. So there are 3 helitankers. Those are the larger helicopters. There are 4 of the smaller helicopters from Cal Fire and from the Sheriff's Department and County Fire. I haven't seen any air tankers, any of the fixed wings, but they just arrived. I know they were here earlier. I think probably they dropped some loads of retardant line. The difference being is the helicopters are dipping out of local water ponds. They're making fast trips back and forth, back and forth, back and forth from a local water source. And if you see all of these aircraft, all of these helicopters have either snorkels or buckets underneath them. So the buckets, they just put it in someone's backyard swimming pool or into a pond, or into what they call a folded tank, and it's a tank that the fire engines and water tenders have on them, that they can pump water, and they can simply dip water from their bucket, and they can do a similar thing with the snorkel. So rather than a temporary bucket that they sling underneath it, these helitankers and these other, that Cal Fire tanker, for example, air tanker, has a snorkel, and it sucks up the water from that similar water source, and it opens a bomb door, and it sprays the water. So you're going to get a shot of that Huey doing that right there. Circling up above, there are 2 air tankers, so they're probably going to wait for the helicopters to drop their water and clear the area, and then these two small fixed wing tankers, which come out of Hammett Airport in Riverside County, will come and they'll actually paint the perimeter pink with Phos-Chek. And so what they're working on right now is a combined effort between the ground and the air resources. Air resources are doing two things. They are taking the heat out of the fire by putting the water on the hot spots, and then the fixed wing aircraft are coming in and they're painting the perimeter with Phos-Chek. And because the idea is, the goal is we need to get this fire contained, and the way you contain the fire is by having a line around it, and that line could be Phos-Chek, it could be a natural barricade such as a rock formation or a river or a lake, it could be a roadway, or it could be a line cut by a bulldozer, or in many cases it's a line that's cut by a hand crew. And so simultaneously as the fixed wing and rotor wing, here comes a drop. How was that? Hopefully you guys got to see it. As the second one's going to follow in right behind them. So a lot of times these smaller air tankers, they work in teams of two, as opposed to the larger air tankers, which have a lot more retardant. But these smaller tankers can certainly get in lower. They can be a little more precise. We have a C-130 now stationed out of San Bernardino. It carries a lot more, but it's a little slower. Takes a little longer to reload. And then, of course, we have the larger, the VLATs, the very large air tankers like the DC-9, or sorry, the DC-10. And it can drop a lot, but it's a lot faster, and it has to drop a lot higher. So it's not nearly as effective on this hilly terrain, not nearly as effective on the when it's windy with all this upslope wind. And so a lot of times the VLATs and the larger air tankers are reserved when there's an actual structural threat. So they'll put a line between a row of houses in the forest, for example, in order to contain it. This fire at first looked like it had the potential for significant spread. As it burnt north up the hill into the forest, and as it burnt east along East Highland up in the hills, in the foothills. But the combined efforts from the Forest Service, the county, and the county cooperators, and CAL FIRE have done a great job of punching a lot of the heat out. You can tell because the smoke, at least from my vantage point, has significantly diminished. Like I said, when I drove across the rim earlier, there was a huge header. Sorry, the Forest Service is calling me. Hang on. Let me call them back. You guys want to listen in? I'll let you know. I'll talk. Sorry, I was reporting live. Yes, this is Scott. You talked. I think you talked to me earlier on the side of the 330 at the brush you're on, about the possible suspect. So, right after transient came up to me and said that the person wearing black shorts started the fire. That killed his poor dog with a machete, and he's held up in the drainage with a machete. Since then, the other person that you talked to then came up and said, "Hey, who's the guy?" And a guy in black shorts was walking from the tunnel on the west side of the highway, from the tunnel, walking down, basically from my elevation. sorry about that. I needed to. Law enforcement. Now there's two of them here looking for the guy. They really want to catch him, rightfully so. Either way, if he started this fire and or if he killed dogs and or if he has a machete in this drainage, then it's probably somebody that they should talk to. So we'll see. Starting to hear chainsaws off in the distance. So that's the hand crews working to cut down any thicker vegetation, brushes, and small trees that might be in the burn area, and so that they don't add to the fuel source or cause the fire to flare up. Hopefully you guys got to see some of the aerial shots, but as I'm looking right now, unless this wind really picks up, which is not forecasted to do, unless something unforeseen happens, I think they got this fire managed. There's a couple of terms that you'll hear used, whether or not for wildland fires. The biggest one, the most important one, is containment. Containment is what I was describing earlier, where the combination of hand crews, bulldozers, aerial assets, geography, roads, as long as they put a perimeter around where that fire cannot cross, then they'll call that fire contained. Now, you can have a perimeter completely around a fire and there still be active flames and active smoke. It just won't go anywhere. It's no longer a huge threat. So they won't call the fire out or under control until it's cold to the touch, and until there's no visible smoke. And so very typical in our fires that they'll have containment first, and then they'll keep checking on it. They may actually leave people on this fire overnight. They may, if they get a nighttime flying aircraft with thermal imaging FLIR system, they can actually use the FLIR system to see if there's any hot spots, and if not, then they can go home and they might come back for the next day, 2-3 days, however long they need to come back, and just confirm, is that fire completely out. They will stay on the fire as long as it takes to get it contained, however long it takes to build that line around it, whether it's with Phosgene, whether it's with bulldozers, whether it's with hand crews, but they won't leave this fire until that's done, so it's safe for the community. Pausing just a little bit here because I see the air tankers coming back, and I don't know about you, but I really enjoy watching them, and also being nosy, wanting to see if those law enforcement officers are able to catch or meet up with that suspect who was walking down the highway a little while ago. Oh, here's those tankers. The lead plane is up front. He's going to tell that first tanker exactly where to drop his load. So there's that air attack 1-2, I think. Smoke saying, okay, plane behind me, there's your spot. Go ahead and drop your load right behind me. And then the second one, the lead plane. I'm sorry, I called that the air attack. I think that's the lead plane. So there's two supervising aircraft. I don't know if you'd call them supervisors. There's two other fixed-wing, non-firefighting capable aircraft. One's called a lead plane and one's called an air attack. And so you have an air attack anytime you have helicopters and or fixed-wing aircraft fighting a fire, you have an air attack. And what the air attack does is he kind of coordinates the aerial assault. He makes sure that all the aircraft are safe. He makes sure he can communicate with the incident commander, where he believes resources should be allocated to. He has an aerial view of the incident, so that becomes an eye in the sky for the incident commander as well. And then he will give directions to the helicopters. Okay, put some water there on that ridge. Put some water there over there in that section. And then you have what's called the lead plane, and the lead plane is going to escort the fixed wing aircraft, and he's going to tell the fixed wing, he's going to communicate with air attack. And he's going to tell, take the information from air attack and tell the lead plane is going to tell the fixed wing aircraft where to put the retardant line. For air attack and the lead plane, and this next tanker they're going to go make another go around because the Sikorsky, the tanker, came back into the area to put some water on it. So they're both putting water on it to cool it down. They probably have some hand crews over there working. They want to cool it down. I won't tell you why that water looks brown. You can guess why that water is brown. That didn't come from somebody's pool. That probably came from the sewage treatment plant, if I had to guess. So he's making a third drop along this sort of northwesternly flank where there is some crews. So they're cooling off the water, or they're cooling off the fire with water or sewage, and so that the hand crews can hike through there to get to where they need to go in order to cut a hand line, and then the air tankers, the fixed wing, are going to come back, and they all can fly until probably about 8:30 tonight. So they have a couple hours at least of work they can get done if they needed. They might not need them that long. It's 6:45 now, so maybe an hour and a half. Hour and a half maybe of daylight, of good daylight for safe flying. Like I said, may not need them, and they might need them on a different fire someplace else. If this is a low priority fire now because they've got a lot of the heat knocked out and there's no threats to structure or to the forest, they might release the aircraft to go help elsewhere, or let them go and have a much needed break. It's been a busy day for fires in Southern California, not so much here in the Inland Empire, but other areas in LA County have had some fires going on. So it's always nice when we have this kind of aerial resources and it can keep these fires down to 50 or 100 acres instead of thousands of acres. So I am going to, while we're waiting for that last air tanker, and then I think I'm going to sign off. Let's see if I can get you guys an update on fire size. And then I'll start over from scratch just so you know what's going on here. Go to the latest here. This is called the Easton fire. Okay, so here that comes. That's the painting white with some white smoke where he wants that tanker to drop, and the tanker's coming in right behind us, drops the Fosjet. I don't think I could have found a better place to set up for some of these pictures. I kind of like being in the flames. I kind of like being in the smoke. But being out here just on the outside of it, I get some really good pictures, and hopefully you guys got some really good video of the air tankers doing their job. So I'm looking up. There's still some smoke east of me, but I believe these aerial resources are concentrating on the northern flank or the head of the fire, which is right in front of us here, and you've seen multiple fixed wings and multiple helicopters just in the last few minutes drop there, and very little smoke left. If you look up in the distance, you can see hand crews up there hiking in with hose, hiking in with hand tools to cut line, to cool off hot spots. I think they did a good job knocking this down. Let me just start over from scratch with just a final update here. So according to other reporters, there's 35 engines, maybe up to 50 if you include some of the partners here. So between CAL FIRE, Forest Service, and San Bernardino County Fire, there's at least 50 engines assigned to this fire. And let's see. Just looking for an acreage update. 13 helicopters I don't know if I've seen 13 helicopters. They may have requested 13 helicopters. I know last I saw they had requested 7 helicopters and 4 fixed wings, and with the lead plane and the air attack, that I think is close to 13. So maybe 13 aircraft altogether. 4 fixed wing tankers, lead plane, air attack, 3 helitankers, the larger Sikorskys, and then 4 of the smaller Hueys with either a Bambi bucket or a snorkel tank. The smaller rotary wing, mainly on this fire at least, where it was sucking water out of ponds, lakes, people's backyards and pools, maybe, who knows, you can do it, and drop water to cool the fire, take a punch out of the fire, slow down the rate of spread. And then the fixed wings come in afterwards, or at the same time, work in different areas for safety. They'll paint with the FOSCHEC. They have to go back to either San Bernardino or Foxfield in Lancaster, or Hemet in Riverside County to reload with FOSCHEC. These aircraft came from all over the place, and another person matching the description standing right here. I'm going to call one more time. I think your guy's here. He's right about 100 yards up the highway from me. He's at the N freeway sign, walking southbound in the northbound lanes on the shoulder. About 50 yards in front of me. Yep. Walking downbound, southbound on the northbound, upbound lanes. No shirt, black shorts, got a bit of a belly, Hispanic. He's not close enough to see any tattoos. I can ask him. No, he's not that close yet. But he's got black shorts, no shirt, bit of a belly. No, yeah, no machete that I can see. That's good. Yeah, he's walking. He looks bald. No dog. Okay. Right on top of it. So he's at the... Yep. Alright, see ya. Sorry, the Forest Service was calling me back right at the same time. That potential suspect. Let's see if I can take some pictures here without him looking. Potential suspect. Approaching me off camera left here. How's that for a shot? So I still don't have any acreage, so I'm going to guess 25 to 50. We'll update you guys with an accurate acreage account when I get back to the house and can update you. I'm just snapping pictures of the helicopters as they come by. Okay. No, that's all right. He's gone now. He'll be back though. It's pretty obvious though, right? Yeah. I think probably down there. Although that might be the old fire too. Wasn't there another fire over there? Yeah. Yeah. The aircraft didn't wake you up? They're really loud. Oh, okay. Hey, take it easy. Be safe. Yeah, I was just interviewing him for you. He just walked away from me.
Oh, he just walked away.
Yeah, he claimed to be sleeping this entire time, didn't know what was going on. He's like, oh, what's going on? I've been asleep this whole time. I just woke up. Was walking south of me. There we go. So, the whole time I've been talking to the popo, fires went away. I don't know. I don't want to call it out because there's still some heat and smoke, I'm sure, but there's a couple of hawks flying over the fire. That's always a good sign. I'm just going to say for right now, let's call this 50 acres. No estimation on containment, no official cause. No official cause of the fire, although we're kind of in the middle of it right here. We're hearing from a couple of sources that it's possibly arson, a couple of sources that they know who the person is. I've talked to a couple of people. One might have been the suspect. Who knows? It's always fun and entertaining reporting live from fires. And you guys were all my witnesses and my backup. Let me start over from scratch. Scott from Scott Shop Media, about 4:45 or so, call went out for a vegetation fire, Highway 330 at Highland, at the bottom of the 330. Units first getting on scene reported 1 to 2 acres, a rapid rate of spread, making a run up the mountain, immediately requested a second alarm vegetation assignment, which brought maybe as many as 50 fire engines and as many as 11 aircraft, of which you see one right there. That is a helitanker. It's going to be dropping some water. And the fire looks like it might have started alongside the road, along Highland Avenue, and then quickly made a run up the hill and towards the forest. So not taking any chances. They requested a lot of resources. That's just a good shot right there. And including 3 of these helitankers you see here, 4 other helicopters, lighter helicopters, and 4 fixed wing tankers, smaller tankers. As far as I know, they didn't request, at least I didn't see any show up, any of the larger tankers, which oftentimes they wait for or they reserve for structure threats. And so I'm not 100% sure if there's any structures that were threatened that are east of here. It does appear mostly to be this hillside. So the crew's been working for almost the last 2 hours to put the fire out. Crews will be on scene for a while to come in order to continue to contain this fire, to get a line around the fire, a combination of Phos-Chek, bulldozer line, and hand line cut by the ground crews. And so this serves as a good reminder that fire season is all year long, but certainly as the summer gets longer, the vegetation dries out more and more, and then of course as we approach the fall with the Santa Ana winds, we always need to be ready, always need to be prepared. Certainly by this time, everybody on the mountain should have their plan together, know what to do if a fire breaks out close to you, practice that plan, and then pay attention to local media, local fire officials, local law enforcement, and for updates on fires and when it's time to start considering evacuation and when it's time to actually evacuate. Was it a week or two ago now? I think it's been 2 weeks. The Mount R fire just below Running Springs, that was a good practice, a good rehearsal. Houses north of the highway in Running Springs, especially in the Rimwood Ranch area, were actually put under a mandatory evacuation. So we certainly can't predict when a fire is going to happen. We certainly can always hope for the best. Luckily, with this fire as well as the last couple, including the Mount R fire, there were not any major fires burning elsewhere throughout the region, and so there were plenty of aerial and ground resources available to fight those fires. And so I think in large part the weather cooperated today. There was a little bit of a breeze, and it's hot, but it's not as hot as it could be and as hot as it was a week ago. And the wind from the time the fire started until now, the wind actually shifted direction. So when the fire first started, it was driving, the wind was blowing to the north, and so the fire was burning to the north, and then the wind changed direction and started blowing south, and kind of blew the flames back onto each other, which helped slow the spread as well. So I will update the acreage and containment and all of those sort of stats when I get back to the house in an hour or so. But for now, it looks like we are in good shape. Great job to not only the Forest Service and CAL FIRE, County Fire, but all of the other agencies that participate. Caltrans with the Highway Patrol with the highway, Sheriff's Department with the freeway closures, possible evacuations, San Manuel and Running Springs fire departments, which oftentimes participate and are added to the requests when fires are in those areas as well. So again, this is Scott from Scott Shot Media, and this is what's happening on the mountain.